Right, 20 February 2024, and today I've got another update, our daily update of all the important political, regional, and military stories that are taking place around Zimbabwe and Africa. And today I've got some very interesting breaking news, and this is in terms of SADC. So many people have been wondering what SADC is up to regarding the Zimbabwean issue and also the disputed election in Zimbabwe. So today I've got an update for you. SADC team has arrived in Zimbabwe, and this team is going to be looking at preparations for the SADC summit, which is supposed to be held in Zimbabwe in August. But before that summit can be held, there are certain conditions that Mnangagwa must fulfill, and this is the reason why SADC is in Zimbabwe. The team has arrived quietly in Zimbabwe. They did not make noise, and they are now in Zimbabwe. We need to see what they're going to do about the situation in the country. So as I'm saying, this is very important. This is very important, the arrival of SADC in Zimbabwe. The regional body is doing very, very well in terms of everything that they've been doing in Zimbabwe, the observer mission in Zimbabwe, and also in terms of the actual report. There have been a lot of secret maneuvers behind the scenes regarding SADC, and I'm very happy that SADC is finally now in Zimbabwe, and this team is not working in the public, it's working in private, and we want to see the outcome of that. Is ED going to be allowed to host a summit when he's currently under investigation? Is it possible for a country that is being investigated by SADC for illegal activities, for an election that is not free and fair, to host the SADC chairmanship? Can Mnangagwa be chairman of SADC when he is under a process of SADC of mediation? And I think that the leaders of SADC will eventually say ED does not qualify to hold that position. So this is very interesting news, and I think we can call this breaking news for this week. You can also see a small clip or a small snippet of that story on in the Herald newspaper. So this is official. This is not something that is being talked from the sides. It's official. The SADC team is actually in Zimbabwe as we speak. Then let's look at the tweets. Nelson Chamisa has made a long tweet about the land issue and the demolitions that are taking place in Zimbabwe. And I'm going to ask the robot to read this long tweet later on today. It's quite long, so I want you to understand what Chamisa is saying regarding this land issue. So what is happening with the land is that various rural areas, people had built and they were allocated land by chiefs. Mnangagwa sent people to demolish all these areas and move people around. And as I said to you, this is also linked to the elections. When these guys looked at the election results, they saw something, and they're trying to address what they saw in the pattern of the election. So don't think that ZANU-PF is just doing this for nothing. I've said this is to address certain things that they saw in the election results. So most likely they saw a movement towards the opposition, and they're seeing a risk in terms of what can happen if people are allowed to live the way they are living now. People are living in the rural areas, and then they're also living in town. So these are peri-urban areas where people are being given plots, and then they go to these rural areas, and I think they're infiltrating and making these areas non-ZANU-PF areas, and this is what I think is the reason here. I want to look at the tweets by other leaders. Let's look at what Ostalos has been tweeting. Ostalos is very interesting always. I will look at Ostalos' tweets and want to say what Ostalos has been saying here. So Ostalos retweeted the tweet by Nelson Chamisa. Then he also retweeted the issue of Maibila. Maibila is a very prominent ZANU-PF leader whose farm was being taken by ZANU-PF as part of this process that is ongoing. And she threw herself under a car. Lucky she didn't die. She's alive. She's screaming. There's a video. So Ostalos tweeted that video. Very, very interesting. And then I want to go now into what is going to happen today. Very, very critical. Watchman Ncube is going to be talking at 9 a.m. With my brother Zenzele Ndebele. So this is going to be very, very important. Watchman Ncube is a very, very serious politician. Biti, very, very serious politician. And Mafume, very, very serious politicians. Chamisa is loved by everyone, including these guys that I've mentioned. There is no one here who is saying they don't want to work with Chamisa. The problem that has happened, and I forgot to say, Sikhala has had 2 interviews in the past 24 hours. The problem that we have, and after watching Mafume, I have got an understanding of why these guys went the direction that they went. However, we have a problem, and the problem is very big. The problem is lack of unity within the opposition. No matter how you try to spin this, you can be on Chamisa's side, you can be on Ncube's side, you can be on Biti's side. The problem is lack of unity within the opposition. This has been seen and said by many, many international organizations when they take up their surveys and when they write their reports. The opposition in Zimbabwe is not united. And it is not possible for Chamisa to work with these guys. They are just too different. Their approach is too different. Chamisa has got his own leadership style, and these guys have got their own leadership style. So what I see happening is there's going to be a very strong CCC, and then Chamisa is going to be a leader of a movement that is focusing on the presidency. That is how this is going to be solved. Chamisa is the president, and the opposition working as CCC. So do not rush to think that CCC is going to die. I want people to understand why CCC is important. It's not possible to form something similar to CCC. The work that has gone into the creation of the CCC is so much. And the structures of the CCC all over the place, they need to be revived. I agree with Mafume that there needs to be structures at what level? At provincial level and at national level. At the moment, there are no structures. So that structureless party must go away, and there must be a new party. Everyone who had gone away on their separate way must come back. Chamisa must then be a presidential candidate from the movement. So Chamisa be the presidential candidate, the rest of the guys be in the new party, including Monzora. Everyone must come and now form one Congress and have one party, which is the CCC. This whole division that they have in the opposition is not serving a purpose. And I agree with Mafume. You should go and watch that interview. Mafume is not a bad person. Biti is not a bad person. Ncube is not a bad person. Guys, let's be serious. If we want to have change in Zimbabwe, these guys must be forced to sit down and unite. This is what I say here. And this goes for everyone else. Now, Chibaya, now Stalos. There's no one without a senior. It's not possible. Everyone is their senior. So we cannot just have people who say there is a leader but there's no one else. That won't work. Even your government won't work. If you're saying the only person that will recognize Chamisa and will recognize no one else. So I say unity must come, but it must come in the way of CCC as a strong party and Chamisa running a movement for the president so that there's no infiltration and destruction. And we'll support Chamisa in that way. And we'll also support the CCC. The CCC is going to do very, very well. And eventually they will have a president. But the president will just be there to make sure that Parliament, Senate, and Council is doing well, while the CCC support Chamisa as the presidential candidate. This is how I see this thing unfolding. Let's see what Promise Mkwaranzi is tweeted. I'm sorry, I'm going to go to other news, but I just need to go through the tweets. As I said, Chamisa is tweeted on the land. I'm going to ask the robot to read that. But Promise Mkwaranzi is also tweeting on the land, and he's also tweeting on Watchman Ncube's interview. So we need to look at that Watchman Ncube interview. I had a chat with Watchman Ncube, not a big chat. We had greetings in the past 2 days, but I think Watchman Ncube is going to find a position where he's going to be well respected as an elder in the opposition party. We cannot toss these guys away. And Ncube, you need to give them respect. Biti, give them respect, and Karanye Kware, they need to be respected. So I don't agree with this thing of fighting. These guys are fighting every day. They must be stopped. So if you support Chamisa, it doesn't mean if you support Chamisa, you must hate everyone else. The politics of hatred is not going to take you anywhere. You cannot be president by hatred. And I can assure you, no matter how much you love Chamisa, you must also love other opposition leaders. Everyone is contributing to this thing. And this is my position on opposition. If you let these guys continue with this division, it will be 2040 and there will be no power handover in Zimbabwe. There will be no change. I want to look at Job Sikhala, then I end the tweets. What Job Sikhala is tweeted, there are 2 Twitter accounts for Job Sikhala, and they're fake. Many of them are fake. Job Sikhala has said that there's going to be the burial of the young lady who was killed in Chitungwiza. I'm just losing her name now. I'm so sorry about that. But she's eventually going to be buried. The family has now agreed. They've gone and looked at the body at Parenyato Hospital. More blessing Ali. I'm sorry about that. It seems I was now too interested in my own analysis. So more blessing Ali, the family has now agreed that she's going to be buried very, very soon. But there are rituals to be performed before she can be buried. So because Job Sikhala is out, she's now going to be buried. And this is going to be a closing of the chapter, a very important chapter in terms of her getting to go to rest. You know, if she died 2 years ago, she died 2 years ago and she's not been buried. So she's eventually going to be buried. The brother in the UK has confirmed that More Blessing Ali will soon be buried. And so that is because of Job Sikhala coming out of jail. Then I also want to mention that Mafume has said when Chamisa resigned, he told no one. So he just resigned and went away. I told you in December that Chamisa had disappeared. Currently, Chamisa is not talking to anyone. And I want to re-emphasize this point. Chamisa is not in discussions with Timba, Mkwananzi, I think maybe Ostalos in Chibai. But the rest of the guys, even the chairpersons, is not talking to them. There's no place where Chamisa is sitting there and sharing his plans. So if you are in CCC, make it work. Make sure that all your structures are up and about, and make sure that if you're in the UK, you start talking to each other. If you're in South Africa, in all these places, start talking to each other so that CCC is strong. Chamisa might be having a blind spot in terms of how much he needs the CCC to work. And the blind spot is in terms of you cannot start something again from scratch every 4 years. A new thing will not win. So we need that CCC to have momentum and to win. And that's my position, and I'll do everything I can to assist with making sure that the international structures of the CCC are working. We need the CCC to be strong and work. And we also want to see proper communication from Biti, from Ncube, from Karenyi Kore. These guys are not bad people, and do not buy that. When someone tells you they're bad, don't buy that. But support Chamisa when he forms his new movement so that he can have a strong presidency. Everyone is clear that if Chamisa was to go against Mnangagwa in a presidential election, Mnangagwa will lose dismally. He will lose to Chamisa. But that takes me to the next news story. In the news day, they are leading with the story that Mnangagwa is now seeking a 3rd term. I do not think Mnangagwa will get a 3rd term. If Mnangagwa makes an attempt to go for a 3rd term, he's going to be removed. And he's going to be removed by people you don't expect. There is a very strong 3rd force in Zimbabwe. And the 3rd force is partly responsible for the removal of Chamisa. I mentioned this before the election, that there is a 3rd force in Zimbabwe that is fed up with the politics of ZANU-PF and CCC. They want to create a new political order, and it's a political, military, and business structure that was created with the intention of creating a transitional system. So you are going to see a transitional system very, very soon. Mnangagwa is no longer popular in ZANU-PF. I can assure you that Mnangagwa, after this land thing, Mnangagwa is the least popular person in ZANU-PF. People are looking at Mnangagwa and wondering what he's doing and where he's going with all these things that he's doing. So everyone that was previously supporting Mnangagwa, they can see that there's no direction, there's no future. And if he continues with seeking a 3rd term, we'll be sitting here talking about what has happened to Idi. Idi has miscalculated very, very badly with what he's doing with the land. He's gone to his base and he's destroyed that base. And the third force is making it worse. So what the third force does is they go behind and worsen every mistake that Mnangagwa is doing. So that eventually he's out and he's going to be removed. So as I said before, the removal of Chamisa was step one. Then the removal of Mnangagwa is part two. But he thinks he can still go for a third term. He's going to be the most unpopular person that you've ever seen very, very soon. Let's now go to Chiwenga. General Chiwenga has gone to Russia. He's gone to a place called the Russia Games. And the Russia Games is where they'll be shooting and riding bikes, you know, all the sports things that the Russians do. But the problem is that in Russia, they've killed an opposition leader called Alex Navalny. And if you look at Pastor Ivan Mawaride, he's gone out this week and explained what happened there. So you can go and check it out on his platforms. They killed this opposition leader suddenly and they're hiding his body. So you can go and have a look at that. So let's end up with the pictures. I want to share some pictures with you. And we look at those important pictures. Chiwenga, yesterday opened the Belarus-Zimbabwe business arrangement. I don't know what it's called, where Zimbabwe is getting these buses from Belarus. And I want to mention something here. Mnangagwa has been a person that has not improved infrastructure in Zimbabwe. A train is the best solution for Chitungwiza. So you take a train which comes from Harare to Chitungwiza. It stops by areas like an waterfalls and all that. And you can have a train every 15 minutes there. There's enough traffic. And also the infrastructure is already existing. All you need is a system, an operating system. And then you clean up all those tracks. People already show interest in using the train. So let's say you have the train every 15 minutes in the morning between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. You can also have a similar train all the way up to Goromonzi. I think there's an infrastructure there already. And all the way up to Norton. You can have a small train like the How train. The How train, each train carries about, let's say, 50 people. You can easily run that and you'll be very profitable. But Mnangagwa has not come up with that idea. He introduced that old train which I went to film, and that ended there. So ED, not very imaginative. You can also introduce a tram from Harare, Avondale. You go all the way up to, what is this place? Westgate. You can put a tram there. You can also put a tram, all the populated areas around Borodale. You can have a tram there which carries, let's say, 10 people. And this can either be diesel powered or it can be electro powered. The guys who are in Europe, you know this. You can also have a tourism tram which goes around Harare. So like something that drives all day around the city of Harare. That is, it shows you Norton and all those places. And you have a card which students can use to go to school. So that is used at what is other university, the Harare Institute of Technology, Polytechnic. Those short distances where if a student buys a card, they're done. The cost of that is very, very little. And if you go to Russia, so Chiwenga is in Russia now, you should see how advanced the Russian system, underground system is. In Zimbabwe, you don't even need that. You need to just buy the trains, put the operating systems on top. Got so many engineers. ED cannot think outside the box and is not thought of all these things that I'm explaining here. This is what you need to solve the traffic situation in Zimbabwe and also the buses. These buses that they have there, they need to fix them. Have smaller buses and have in-town buses and charge for people to drive inside the city center. It's a jungle there. I was stuck on my way from Chitungwiza coming into town for more than 2 hours on a Sunday night. That's how bad this traffic is, and they cannot control it. The roads are so bad, and Mnangagwa just cannot get it. He's not doing what needs to be done. And anyway, I'm mentioning this because of this story here that you're seeing, the buses with Belarus. A bus is not enough. You need a system behind it. Then we've got a sad case. This father has married his daughter, and you can see this story in the H Metro newspaper. There's also a rapist from Bubi. My brother Mbulawa has run this story, Ezra Chisaswanda, for a very, very long time. He actually chased him down. He chased him down until he caught him. And he's the one who is responsible for getting that rapist caught. But this case is a father who is married. He's 14-year-old. In fact, she's not 14, but he started abusing her when she was 14 years old. That is the father there. You can go and look at the H Metro newspaper. And then the dealer has been found with the 5 lion heads. I don't know what is doing the 5 lion heads. And then we've got here the first lady of Botswana is in Zimbabwe to meet Mnangagwa. And she is called Neo, I think Neo Masisi, if I'm not mistaken. You forgive me if I butchered the name there, but she is the first lady of Botswana. She is also an ambassador of HIV for the UN, I think, if I'm not mistaken. She's very, very nice. Although I've got my questions on Masisi himself, but I think she's doing a great job. Then we've got Net 1 engineer has died. He was swept away with a girlfriend. So you can look at this story. I don't know what happened with this story. I just saw it popping up. So go and look at the internet. He's called Samson Zarima. I saw the story popping up. I don't know if it's new or old, but it was on a river. So I saw that story popping up. You can just go and have a look to see if that is new or not. So now let's recap and close this down. I don't want to speak longer than Makandiwa. So let's go to the story that we're leading. And the story is that a secret visit of the SADC team. And the SADC team is in Zimbabwe secretly. They've not announced anywhere. If you go on their platform, it's not there. But that team is in Zimbabwe preparing for the August summit or SADC summit, where Zimbabwe is supposed to take over as chairperson. And Mnangagwa is supposed to be the chairperson. But because Mnangagwa is under investigation by SADC over the rigged elections, then it becomes difficult. So SADC is going to look and give Zimbabwe the conditions for them to become SADC chair. And let's see if ED is going to be allowed to be SADC chair. I don't think so. I don't think they will allow ED to be SADC chair. SADC would be a joke if they allowed ED to have an unresolved election matter and then to lead SADC. How crazy would that be? I don't believe that SADC would be that stupid to allow ED to do that without resolving the matter. So eventually, we might have to see ED resolving the matter through a dialogue with Nelson Chamisa. Then we'll move forward. Otherwise, ED cannot be SADC chair and have a report hanging over his head where his elections are not free and fair. What happens if there's someone who's got an election that's not free and fair? Do you think they will allow ED to look over the matter? Do you think ED will do anything about it? So SADC will become a joke if they allow ED to become SADC chair. So I hope that this secret visit by SADC will resolve the matters that we're actually facing at the moment. And then, as I said, Professor Ncube is going to be talking to my brother Zinzile Ndebele at 9 a.m. this morning. I'm going to ask my brother Zinzile Ndebele to allow us to either publish or summarize this story. And then we've had a discussion with Mafume. Mafume had a long chat with Tekmak. I think Tekmak is Makandua's newspaper. And then we also had Sikhala talking 2 interviews, and we had Biti on NRTV a few weeks back. So everyone has spoken, and we are now moving in the proper direction. The only thing left is for the court cases to be addressed. But everyone is now out in the open, and they are not bad people. Chamisa Biti is not a bad person. Ncube is not a bad person. Makora is not a bad person. And Sikhala is not a bad person. Let everyone be united, and we'll have a proper direction. But if people continue to squabble and say who's better, who is chosen by God, and so forth, you will be in 2040 without a new government. All of you will be sitting there with your popular people and no government. Chamisa cannot win the election without support from other opposition leaders. Take this from me. I have sat with all the election candidates. In the 2018 election, I sat with them. I know their weaknesses and strengths. I know their teams. They will not win without unity. Even if you put Chamisa here, as popular as he is, he's not going to win without other opposition leaders. He needs other opposition leaders to win. Let's quickly look at some comments. Why is SADC on a secret visit? That's a big problem there. Yes, I agree that secret visit is a problem. They must announce and say Mnangagwa must address the issues. I agree with you there, Samuel. They must not be secret. Then go on and one is ED Chocho train. Come on, man. ED needs to sort out the transport system in Zimbabwe. I don't want to even repeat this. I've said enough. Zimbabwe is a mess. If you move inside Harare, it's shameful what's happening. If you move in the roads of Zimbabwe, it's shameful. It needs to sort out Harare, Zimbabwe, make sure that it's nice. The guys are trying to sweep and clean the Harare City Council, but the actual infrastructure is collapsed, and it needs to do a lot. And then King Musa is saying, I hate them for selling out Watengesi. I feel your pain, King Musa, regarding the recalls. But going forward, Chamisa is going to have a tall order fighting against Mnangagwa and then fighting against Biti, Ncube, Mafume, and Sikhala. It don't work. They have to work together. Someone needs to go and sit those guys down and say each one must play the part that they need to play. It doesn't make sense for Sikhala to be going all over the country, Ncube to be going all over the country, and also Biti going all over the country. Work together, guys. Let's get this thing working. And the supporters must push these guys to unite. I know this because I have sat with those guys. They don't have capacity, each of them. Chamisa's guys, they don't have capacity, each of them, to make him win. That's why I saw Chamisa working so hard. Hakuna mwana capacity to win among these opposing guys. All of them are struggling for resources. They're struggling for support. They don't have capacity to know the numbers. So if Chamisa right now was to become a candidate, he doesn't know the numbers, and he won't have the numbers in parliament. So they have to work together. Everyone must come together. Even Anangonzo, right, all that, they must now be in that big CCC as a coalition. And then Chamisa must be this side as the presidential candidate. But there mustn't be any insult throwing for the other guys. And we now need a proper communication coming out. People sitting in front and talking the plan. What is the plan? Then we get rid of all this noise that is in the system. So I think I'm done here. I'm very happy that we've covered all the stories that we needed to cover today. I hope to see the First Lady of Botswana speaking. That will be very interesting. I've seen her making addresses, but I've never seen her addressing in Zimbabwe. Let's see what she says. I also would like to see what Chiwenga is going to do in Russia. So I'm going to be following that very, very closely. And then I'll also be following very closely the story of Ncube, who is going to be speaking to my brothers in Zimbabwe at 9 a.m. today. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and a good day to you all.